Okay, and we're live. And greetings and welcome. And I've got a very, very special guest, long-term friend of the channel, Rowdog from Rowdog Speaks. Say hi.
Hello.
Really happy to chat to you. I've been, as I was just saying, I've been talking to you in comment sections of our videos for quite a while, but we've never actually come on and actually chat to each other. So it's really, really good to see you.
No, yeah, same. I'm looking forward to this chat.
Yeah. Well, as I was just saying, it's kind of tradition for my YouTube channel whenever I do a live stream for it to be a real shoddy affair, and not with guests or anything like that. They're always good, but it's always on my end. There's usually something technical that goes wrong or something cocks up. But hopefully this will break the mold, and we're going to go through from here. But this is what I want to do more of. I want to just chat to people, because it's quite lonely in my van, you know. So I just talk to myself. That's all I do. So I'm really looking forward to having people on, and I'm happy that you've come on today.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you.
Obviously, I've been away for quite a while. For 3 weeks I've been away. It's quite a long time in politics. A lot of things seem to happen. So basically, I just want to chat with you about sort of what's been going on the last few weeks.
A lot of stuff.
It's strange. It's strange. You go away for 3 weeks. Well, I mean, this has been quite momentous. I went away for 3 weeks, and I intentionally went on a complete social media blackout. I took YouTube off of my phone. I posted some stuff on Instagram, but I wasn't scrolling through anything. I was intentionally just having a 3-week blackout from everything. And when you're really engaged in politics and you take yourself away for 3 weeks, it's really strange coming back, and it has been a crazy 3 weeks. I mean, we lost.
I mean, especially when you come back and like so much like momentous, like massive stuff has happened, and it's like you feel like you have to catch up on everything. Like the Queen dying is a big thing, like new Prime Minister, massive thing, and it's like I have to like go into all of the analytical stuff about like cabinet and funeral and all the rest of it.
Yeah, it's crazy. 3 weeks away, and a new prime minister and a new king, which only happens once every couple of lifetimes. But I was reminded of that pretty quickly. It was quite strange.
I think, to be honest, he's only got 30 years max, and then we'll probably have another one after that. To be brutally honest,
it's true. But yeah, so today I want to talk about Lizz Truss and Lizz Truss Cabinet. Even this week, my first week back from holiday, I've kind of been working, so I haven't been into it. But obviously, we've had this new budget this week, which I want to talk about, and hopefully, we'll end on the monarchy and both of our opinions on where it should go and what we think about that. But first of all, I don't know. Let's go on the cabinet. Let's see if I can get it on screen now. If I'm not going to do too much of a shoddy affair here. This this cabinet of hers, it's just, I mean, if you ever needed like a more obvious show of just employing the people that helped you out to get to leader, this is it. Not the people that actually deserve the job and are good at their job.
Oh, it's so depressing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Therese Coffey and Suella Braverman and Kwasi Kwarteng already are just like, when you think it couldn't have possibly gotten worse with Boris Johnson, but it does.
Well, I don't know whether you had the same opinion as me, but I knew that it would get worse. Like I wanted Boris Johnson to go, but I knew that whoever would take over would be worse. It was just one of those situations where it would just be quite nice just to see the man lose his job, because that would be incredibly satisfying. But also I know that whoever takes over is just going to be worse.
Well, it's interesting actually, because during the leadership campaigns, like in the very early days back in June, July, when they had like a selection of like some of them like one or two of them were quite sensible, and I was sort of like, if I had to root for anyone, I probably would have rooted for like Tom Tugendhat, who I think is like, he's either a junior minister or a minister in the cabinet, and he seemed like the most sensible guy.
Yeah.
Sadly, he didn't.
Well, that was the thing. That's what mesmerised me, that they didn't go for someone completely unknown, because whether it's Liz Truss or Sunak, they're still going to be tarred with the brush of Boris Johnson's government. And this is this is what I don't understand, what their strategy is going forward. It just seems absolute madness to me.
Yeah, well, I think what they're trying to go for is like a sort of Thatcherite sort of fan club, where it's like, let's be like completely ideological and do this whole strategy of trickle down economics, which, by the way, like has been proven not to work. And I think like, oh, let's just see if it works again, even though we're facing a cost of living crisis and like most people really can't afford, you know, basic necessities in the shops. But, you know, let's you know, bail out the bankers again.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, caused the financial crisis in 2008. So I don't know what they think they're doing there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's when we look into this budget, I mean, that's exactly what's going on. But these guys in these cabinet, like I say, they're just they're not even hiding the fact that they're just employing people that are favourable to Liz Truss. I mean,
Jacob Rees-Mogg, for goodness sake.
Well, the funny thing about Jacob Rees-Mogg, so he's now business secretary. So I guess no one's replacing his, what was it, Minister of Brexit
opportunities. Yeah.
So they finally found out that there is no opportunity for Brexit. So they're not replacing him on that one. Yeah. It's just mental. And
I know, it's ridiculous. But like the whole what scares me about Rees-Mogg is his whole, and Liz Truss actually, that is their obsession with fracking. Like, let's bring back fracking and let's take all the regulations away so that, you know, we can frack on these sites and, you know, wherever we like. And it's, and they just don't care about like the environmental issues. And like, I think he said something along the lines of like, oh, we want to do fracking so that we can figure out how to stop the earthquakes as a result of fracking. Like, well, if you don't want earthquakes as a result of fracking, don't do fracking.
Yeah. How can anyone ever think that drilling, like when this fracking is like, they drill like it's the size of like 3 Empire State Buildings into the ground, don't they? So basically what they're doing is they're just drilling, like next door, they're doing it just around the corner, right? People's homes. They're drilling 3 Empire State Buildings into the ground, shaking the shit up like crazy to release loads of gas. I mean, sometimes you just need to use your common sense and just know that's not good.
And the amount of
even with
water,
even the evidence that's come out with gas going into people's water pipes and stuff that happens in America, just the sheer fact of just knowing what it is obviously dodgy as hell, isn't it? It's crazy.
And the sheer amount of water that you need to like pump into the ground in order to get the water out, to like get the pressure, it's like swimming pools worth of like water. And that's the whole point of, you know, that's why people are worried that, you know, not just like the earth tremors, but the fact that water might become polluted. I mean, as if, you know, we've already got our own problems with like all the sewage being pumped into the waterways. Like, oh, let's make it worse.
Yeah.
It's just like, you can't make it up with these people.
And the insane thing is, like, all the wind turbines, we got loads off the coast there in Brighton, are churning out tons of electric. They're working really, really well. So why are we just not building more of those? It's absolutely crazy.
I think it's probably because there's a lot of politicians on the Tory benches that have got sort of shares in that in fossil fuel companies. That's why they're doing it.
Yeah. Right. Should we have a little look at this this budget then?
Yeah.
Right. So let me get it up on screen. This is absolutely crazy. But it's just mental. So straight away, so we've got corporation tax now lowered from 25% to 19%.
Yeah.
You got all salaries over 150k. The tax is now reduced from 45 to 40%. So we're reducing tax on salaries over 150k. We're cutting stamp duty, so all the more expensive homes being sold. And like you mentioned earlier, the scrapping on the bankers' bonuses. I mean, what I don't get, I mean, we know why they're introducing this, right? The right wing of the Conservative Party love this stuff. They love this low tax stuff. The ERG, as it called, the real right wing section, love all this bollocks. But this is not going to vote them in 2 years' time. I mean, this doesn't help anyone. No one, basically, everyone that earns under 150k a year are not going to be happy with this.
No.
So how do they expect to be voted in?
I don't
understand the tactics.
I don't, to be honest with you, I don't think that they do expect to be voted in. I think this is like, and people in the comments, like, can, you know, say if they agree or disagree. But I get the feeling this is like a scorched earth sort of set of policies where they know what they're doing is unpopular, and like exactly as Liz Truss said, like the other day, she's like, I'm prepared to be an unpopular prime minister if it means that, you know, I get some level of growth, which, to be honest, won't even happen in the 2 years that she's got left before she has to have a general election. So, like, all of these policies here, she knows it's going to be unpopular. I think what their plan is just to hand a free pass to Labour or whoever gets in at the next election, and then hope to get back in like 5 years' time, and then blame everything on the Labour Party.
I think you're right. I guess if they keep all their donors happy and ERG and everyone happy, then maybe they expect to lose in 2 years' time, but they can come back stronger.
Yeah, it's just really vacuous at this point. They've completely run out of road and run out of ideas of, like, because they've done Brexit, and you know, I was a Remainer, and I still disagree with how Brexit is going, but like they've made a hash of Brexit, and they've, you know, introduced all of these sort of neoliberal Thatcherite policies that they know are not going to go down well with the public. So I think they're just like completely out of ideas of what to do next, and they're just, you know, handing out all this money to, you know, their mates, and you know, in 2 years before the next election. So
I mean, I don't know about you if you speak to many Conservative voters, but I think they're getting to the stage where no one likes them, whichever end of the political state. I mean, I'm talking about normal people. Obviously, rich, you know, they'll love these policies. Of course they will. But normal people, the majority of the country that earn under 150k a year, no one likes them now on either side. I don't know whether you found that with people that you've spoken to. But...
Well, I don't speak to many that I know of people that are Conservative. If not, they keep it very quiet. So
don't you live in the West Country?
Yeah, the Shires I live in.
I thought they were everywhere.
Yeah, well, like I said, they keep it really close to their chest.
Sure.
I don't speak to many of them. I work in like libraries, so like most people I work with in libraries are fairly, if not left wing, then anti-Tory. So.
Yeah, well, it's mainly what opinions online. Even if you look at the sort of comment sections in talk radio videos and stuff, none of the talk radio fans and viewers like this current Tory party. No one.
No.
Because you kind of like your traditional working class Conservative voter, if I can say that. It sounds a bit weird, but it's around. I guess they kind of liked that, like David Cameron style Conservative when he first came in, and he said we're going to live within our means and we're going to balance the books. I mean, that's not what these guys are. I mean, they're spending, right? They're spending like crazy.
Yeah, but like, even though our debt is still lower than what most other European, like is it G20 or G7 countries? I'm not sure, but we're still like, our level of borrowing is still like much higher than it was like pre-2010. So I don't know how they can, you know, point fingers at other parties and say, well, you know, they spent more, and you know, like, what are you doing? You're just giving all the money to your donor friends.
Well, basically, I think like the Conservatives have borrowed more since 2010 than Labour, but it was a steady rise from Labour. Labour in the 90s and the 2000s were borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, and it was going up. And the Conservatives just carried on that trend.
Yeah.
But what it really comes down to is the way that you pay for that. You know, Labour will pay for that with higher taxes. In 2010, when Cameron came in, he decided to pay with that with austerity and slashing police numbers and cutting NHS funding and cutting benefits. But this current crop, they ain't doing either of that.
Yeah, but
they're
also
spending like crazy.
But what's interesting is how, like, the word tax within this government is sort of treated as a dirty word. And it's not. Like, taxes pay for, things in our society, whether it's public services or like roads or bridges or like, public parks and things that we, it makes us, a prosperous, happy, population. And, when people say like tax cuts as if it's oh yeah, we pay less tax, like I would rather pay more tax if it went towards like the health system or public services or social care and things like that, because then I know that people are being looked after. And especially like when the previous Corbyn Labour Party was wanting to tax people who earned more than 80 grand. And he was absolutely lambasted for it. But it's like, please do tax rich people more, because, and tax me more if you want, because I am really willing to, pay more on my salary if I knew that it went towards those things. But,
well, that's where this new style of Conservative government is just, it's the libertarian aspect that's just this American libertarian thing that's just taken over the Conservative Party now, where it's like this world of complete and utter pure free market capitalism, where the only route from what they want to do and what this recent budget is the complete dismantlement of the NHS, because that's the only way they're heading with this style of politics. And
well, it's sort of asset stripping, really, isn't it?
But what I think, I don't know, it's always hard to judge what's going to happen in 2 years' time and what the opinion polls are, but I can't see them winning an election in 2 years' time. So I think the main question really is how much damage they can do in 2 years. 2 years is a long time. It's a very long time. And
because they're not going to have a snap election in 2 years, are they?
They
probably know they're going to lose. But the thing is as well, like it's not reliant on the fact that Labour are really good. I mean, they're ahead in the polls at the moment, not because like they've got an amazing set of policies and a great manifesto. It's because the Tory party are just so awful that nobody wants to vote for them anymore. And I think they're aware of that. But I'm hoping at the Labour Party conference coming up that Starmer will introduce like what he actually wants to do for the country.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. I've talked about this a few times with Starmer. He can be so infuriating because you're right. We don't really know what he wants and what his policies are. But this is his tactic, isn't it? I mean, his tactic is I can't say whether it's right or wrong because that's up to him. But his tactic is to stay quiet, sit back, let the Conservatives implode on themselves, and then right before the next election, bring out a good manifesto. Yeah. I don't know whether that's the right thing to do or not. He's playing it tactically because all he needs to do is like sway the certain constituencies that he needs, because however he displeases me and you, we're still going to go and vote for him, aren't we?
Well, I have to sort of vote tactically and vote probably Lib Dem or Green.
Oh, actually, yeah.
I can't vote Labour.
Which is a vote for him in a way.
Yeah, sort of. But his sort of like middle of the road tactic of like not, siding with like his sort of silence on the whole like trade unionist striking movement is annoying. Like,
Yeah.
why can't you, like, it's like, oh, I don't want to be an activist, I want to be a prime minister. It's like, well, showing your support for trade unionists will, like, win you votes.
Yeah.
And you need to bring people on the left back and come the next election, in order to, you know, get more support. And I don't know, like, it's just annoying. Like, he's just so square and so boring. And it's like, please come up with like one policy that, like, I want to vote for you. Like, just give me something to vote for. And it's like, no, I'm keeping the cards to my chest. But,
yeah, I mean, it's hard because we'd love to have someone like you want someone who's running for prime minister to be, you know, completely honest, have integrity, and say what they truly believe in. You know, it'd be so nice to have that. But what Starmer is doing is, like I say, he's doing this in a specific way, tactically, to win those constituencies that he needs to win. If he fails, he fails. I don't know, but all he's concerned about is winning. And like I say, the London seats will still vote for him. You said, you know, you have to vote tactically, which is a vote, because you've got the two choices, and you vote in Lib Dem tactically is obviously a vote for Lib Dem, but it's a vote for Labour, really. In a way. And he knows his safe seat, so he doesn't have to appeal to the you know, the staunch Jeremy Corbyn side, because he's got those votes in London. He doesn't need to worry about that. He's being tactical to win those seats up north. And I don't know if he's doing it the right way. I don't know.
Although, you know, those recent by-elections, that one was it Taunton? Where the Lib Dems won it by like a humongous swing from the Conservatives. That's basically my constituency. My constituency is in Tewkesbury, where like the Tory MP has got like thousands and thousands more, like, compared to the other parties. So if that happens, or like there's like a humongous like shift to the Lib Dems, I'll be quite surprised if this constituency goes.
So when was the last time how long has it been Conservative?
Ages. Years and years and years. It's one of those like shire counties that
have they had any Lib Dem constituencies?
My neighbouring constituency in Cheltenham is a marginal, and that used to be Lib Dem up until 2010, I think. So yeah, that's one to watch.
Yeah. So yeah, my my place of Brighton is a little tiny speck of red and green and a sea of blue down south.
Oh, Steph in the comments says it was Tiverton. So it began with a T. Thank you.
Well done, Steph.
Tiverton and Honiton, that was it.
Yeah, but I think the Lib Dems will play a big part in the next one, because all those voters there's so many voters that still can't bring themselves to vote Labour, but they will.
I don't know why that is. I really don't know why that is.
It depends who they are and what sort of media they're consuming, really. I mean, if they're consuming this media
what could be worse? What could be worse?
I know, but if they're consuming this media that's constantly telling them that Labour are obsessed with only trans issues and stuff like that, then you know, they're absorbed by that. And maybe, but that's what I'm saying. They're still got a hatred for the Conservatives.
Yeah, culture wars.
Yeah,
which doesn't solve anything, really.
No. Which is what I'm talking to a guest tomorrow about, actually, culture wars, which will be interesting. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I want to move on. I'm interested in this conversation. Maybe we'll come back to constituencies in general. But I do want to. Before I forget, I do want to talk about the monarchy, because I did put it on the title of the video, so I don't want to make sure we run out of time. I really want to talk about it because I'm really fascinated by this, because it is like such a monumental time, really, in British history. Whether you're in favour of it, whether you're not, this is massive. It's massive. It's absolutely huge. And when I first heard about it, it's kind of like, it's weird because the Queen was 96 years old, right? Yeah. And it's still like a bit of a shock. It's like, oh, that's wow. That's crazy. She's actually got you. You should be expecting that she was going to go. She's 96
Yeah.
years. You got to think that she was going to live forever.
Yeah. I wasn't really thinking about it much when it happened. So I was expecting she had probably a couple more years left because her mum, the Queen Mother, died when she was 101. Someone can correct me on that as well.
Was she
I was
over
like,
100?
I
I don't
think
know.
so. She did definitely reach 100. But yeah, I thought, oh no, she's still got a couple more years. But then when the photo emerged a couple of days before she died, where she met Lizz Truss, and she did look like really frail, and like her hands, I don't know if
Yeah,
they'd been like cannulated or something, but they looked really like they
yeah.
weren't receiving much oxygen.
She
So
missed
I was
quite
like,
a few like state events and stuff, didn't
yeah,
she? Like the
yeah,
opening of Parliament and stuff. Like Charles stepped in for her.
yeah,
Um,
bless her.
but yeah, it was strange. I'll always remember when I found out. I didn't know. Like I say, I was having my news blackout. I wasn't listening to anything while I was in
Mm,
America, and I was going on a snorkeling trip on the boat. This American just goes to me, taps me on the shoulder. He's like, "You're from England, yeah?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm from England." He's like, "Oh, have you heard the news?" I went, no, what? Oh, the Queen's died. And it was kind of like he was speaking to me like my mum had just died or something. He'd like
mm,
held me on the shoulder. You know what Americans are
yeah,
like. Like, they're
yeah,
really into the royal family.
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I don't really know how to feel, but I'm really looking forward to this snorkeling, so I'm just going to jump in. And
Yeah.
then
Carry on with your holiday.
later on he said to me, he said, "Oh, I had to message my," because he saw that I was fine. But he said, "Oh, I had to message my dad. I just told an Englishman that the Queen had died." And his dad went, "Oh, how'd he take it?" He's like, "Well, he's snorkeling, so I guess he's fine. I guess he's okay." But from that holiday, every single time someone heard my English accent in a bar or whatever,
Mhm. Yeah.
straight away they're
Like,
like,
"Oh, the
"Oh, you're
Queen
from
died.
England. Oh, I'm so
Oh, I'm so
sorry." And it's
sorry."
like, like your mum's
Yeah.
died or something. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
It
bizarre.
was it was weird because, like, on the day that she passed, I was at work and, well, I finished at about 2 anyway, but like it wasn't like properly officially announced until like the evening news. So they were still at that point discussing like she's under medical supervision and like she's resting and then like I was noticing the chat on the news with the BBC with like Nicholas Witchell, the royal sycophant who just can't get enough of the royal family, it seems. Um, they were talking like the commentary was like they were talking about her in the past tense as if she'd already died. It's like, well, that's a bit disrespectful since they've not officially announced that she's died.
Mm.
But then I thought, well, they must know something because, Hugh Edwards is in a black tie, so something big must have happened. And then they announced it like,
So they had the black
at the
tie
news.
out before it was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
for the announcement.
yeah. I think
I,
they probably were told like,
yeah, I
oh,
find this stuff really fascinating because I know all the channels and that had like a training exercises and stuff
oh
what to
yeah.
do when
It was
when
like Operation London Bridge, it was called, when the Queen died. I
yeah,
mean, this was probably set up like years in advance, to know exactly what to do, like when she died. So they knew
yeah,
all the rigmarole of, how to announce it and
yeah.
things.
So in a way, I was kind of happy to be away actually because I don't know, was it quite tedious around that time? Just
Well,
everything.
it was. I mean, it was 24/7 for the first like over the weekend and like the days sort of during the morning period. I mean, it was all the BBC, especially like had on their channel. It was like
Mm,
programs about the Queen, like updates about where the coffin's going. Like it's in Edinburgh, then it's like it's going from Balmoral to Edinburgh, and then it's going to this place, then going back down to London. And it was like just a constant stream of like royal coverage.
mm,
And I sort of I was dipping in and out of it because to be honest, I'm not the greatest of royalists. I'm sort of I err more towards like the Republican sort of argument.
mm,
And I think like towards the
Well, that's
middle
what
of
I want to know. I want
yeah,
to know what your opinions.
towards the middle of the week, I was like, this is getting a lot. Like, and I was a bit like annoyed because there was literally no room for discussion about anything else. Um, Not even like talk about, the future of the country and whether like people actually wanted to have monarchy. There was nothing like that, and it was just such a deluge of
Mm.
talk about the royal family. Um, and I switched off like quite a lot of times because it was just getting like way too much.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
say, in a way, I was quite happy that I wasn't in the country until a week
Mm.
later, where it was still quite, you know, hot topic on the news, and obviously I was here when the funeral happened. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess a few things I want to ask. I guess my general opinion on the monarchy would be I'm happy to keep it, but I would massively, massively scale it down.
Mm.
I'd literally just have the king. I'd have them. They can have a wing of Buckingham Palace. Open up the rest of Buckingham Palace. All the tourists can come in and do what they want to do. The rest
Mm.
of the royal family, they don't get any money. They have to go and work like everyone else. That's my
Yeah.
general opinion. I
Mhm.
like a little bit of, you know, history and a little bit
Yeah.
of that stuff.
Mhm.
But thing is, it's hard to maintain that viewpoint when you hear about the costs of
Yes,
this
absolutely.
funeral. I mean,
Yeah.
2 billion, I think,
It's
two
a
billion
lot.
for
It
the
was a lot.
funeral, and I think that includes stuff like when the banknotes changed to Charles and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of things. It's not just the
Yeah.
funeral.
Yeah.
I don't.
Um,
It's ever harder to justify being in favour of the royal family when they throw a
yeah.
figure like that out, especially at times.
Yeah. Well, I'm sort of the mind, much like yourself, that I don't know if we I want to continue having a monarchy, but at the same time, if we if we want to keep the monarchy, at the very least, like slim it way down to like the bare bones.
Yeah.
And I was listening to like a podcast the other week where they were discussing this, and this one sort of commentator was saying, if you're a Republican and you want to abolish the monarchy, start small and then like work your way along. So maybe start by um, not getting rid of like the whole honor system where people get, um,
What, the knighthoods and stuff?
yeah, the knighthoods and the Order of British Empire or something like that. So get rid of that, and then maybe sort of hand over some of the stately homes to the National Trust, perhaps, and
Mm,
give some of those away and turn them into like museums. And start by doing those sorts of things, and then when the monarchy is like literally just like the monarch and the heir, and everything else is sort of like scrapped or given away, then maybe that would be enough.
mm,
But it's just like all the pomp and ceremony. Um, I just find really egregious. Like I see that, and like much like sort of when the state opening of Parliament happens, and it's just
mm.
like all these robes and furs and
Yeah,
stuff. It's just
I like a little bit of that,
it's
but I
like
mean, I've done videos
I,
on that before,
yeah,
and
I just find it really
I just find
silly.
it fascinating. I do find it
Yeah.
fascinating. I mean, especially, I mean, this was the biggest one ever, the funeral.
Mm.
I don't know if you watched some of the funeral.
I watched some of it, but then I went for a walk, like when the main bit was over. It's like that's enough now. I've seen what like all the necessary stuff, and I'm going for a walk. But
Yeah,
but
the thing
yeah,
is,
I
it went
just
on for like 8 hours anyway, didn't it?
yeah, for ages, and like it's just what bothered me was like the tone was just so deferential. Um, And like I'm not opposed to people like being sad when someone dies. Like obviously someone dying is very sad.
Of
And I
course, yeah.
like I was a bit sad like on the day when I heard the news. But a few days it went on and it was still being talked about, and It's like, oh, really, like, and people will probably say like, well, Rowan, if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to watch it. You can go off and do something else. I did that, but at the same time, it's like, well, at least have some other discussion. You know,
Yeah.
have other voices that that
Hopefully, I think that will come out eventually. I think
yeah,
that I mean that's what we'll move on to
yeah,
soon. But I just wanted to show a little bit of this funeral because it's 8 hours. I mean, this goes back to what I'm saying about £2 million spent.
hmm
It's a crazy amount of money, and I think it's so hard for any normal person that is okay with £2 billion being spent right now on this. It's so hard to justify it. I mean, when you go
yeah,
and you say, right, would you rather have this, or would you rather have 10 new hospitals built, or would you rather have
mm,
no waiting times in your A&E, or 500,000 nurses, or yeah,
yeah,
funding for if you put it a simple question like that, I can't justify it.
yeah. I
I watched
think
about half an hour of the funeral, and
yeah,
it's just absolutely
yeah.
mental. It's absolutely
I think
mental.
I saw enough of it, but I
We-
think what's interesting. I was thinking about this earlier when I was sort of thinking about what to say for this chat, because what's really interesting to think about is, you know, if we didn't have this like show and this like sort of pomp and circumstance sort of spectacle, like what would we be as a country? And I think there's lots of people in the UK that are quite fearful of like what our identity would be if we didn't have this. Um, and I think they're sort of quite scared of like what would it like if we didn't have a monarchy, we'd have like a presidency and like an
Yeah.
elected head of state. And
Mm,
if this is all someone's ever known of their country, then it's probably quite understandable that this is what makes them feel comfortable. Um, and it would make them sort of fight to keep this because it's what they've always seen,
mm.
um, even though it doesn't benefit them like personally. But if you're sort of quite scared to visualize or imagine what your country would be if we didn't have this, then I sort of get it. you know
Yeah. It's this is why I think the best option is just massive scale down. I mean, they do it in Denmark and stuff like that, haven't they? Where their monarchies are
mm,
mainly just fixated on the king or the queen, and the rest of the people,
yeah,
the rest of
yeah,
the family just live their lives.
yeah,
But
but
we're
it's
the
not.
only country that just goes so over the top with this thing.
mm,
I mean,
but it also sorry, it also
no, no,
like
go on.
it also feeds a lot into the class system. I think someone in the chat mentioned mentioned this, Chris Fisher. But yeah, the whole class system is just is reinforced by this, and the monarchy and the whole royal family are invested a lot in like land ownership.
Mm,
So if you think of like all the stately homes that they own across the country, so Sandringham, Balmoral, um, Highgrove, all these places, and it's mad to think like just how much of the land in this country is owned by like aristocrats and the elite.
mm,
It's something like between 80 and like 90% is like privately owned land that it doesn't belong to us. So I really just think we need some kind of massive reform
mm.
whereby public, um, not just like land, but a vast redistribution of wealth in this country is really badly needed, especially when you think of like the levels of poverty that are currently in
Yeah.
the country. So
Okay, so I'm going to put something to you now then. So with everything that you just said there, all the acres of land, all the riches that they earn, someone comes to you, you've got two choices. Okay, get rid of the royal family completely and all that wealth be put back into the government to be spent on everything that you just mentioned, leveling up,
mm,
you know, put it into our NHS, put it into our education system, put it in everywhere that it's needed. Are you going to do it? Are you going to scrap the royal family completely?
I'd probably do it piecemeal, to be honest. I wouldn't do it just like that, because I think that would be quite a radical shock to a lot of people. I know people that probably would want to do that, but I would do it sort of stealthily. So it sort of felt like it was like it felt comfortable for people.
And apparently that's what Charles has promised. That's what he's always talked about, scaling down the royal family.
Well, I hope he does do that.
So we'll see whether he actually does that. But yeah, like I say, I've always been in favour of not getting rid of it completely, but just scaling it down massively. And this 8-hour funeral and the expense that it had is right now is just absolutely mental. Like I'd have so much more respect for Charles, because a lot of people don't like Charles, right? He's not very popular in media that I've seen recently. He seems to be getting slagged off quite a bit. And just imagine how popular he'd be if he just came out and said, look, I understand that we're in a cost of living crisis right now. We're going to spend £1 million on the funeral. I think you can have a pretty good funeral for £1 million. And if he came out and said, you know what, let's not change the banknotes, because apparently that's a massive slice of this £2 billion that's going to be spent changing all the banknotes over. And cash is probably going to disappear in 10 years' time anyway, with
probably
Apple Pay and everything. Is there any point? You know, I think people would have so much more respect for him if he came out and done that. But £2 billion, 8-hour funerals. It just mesmerised me. You know what mesmerised me about this funeral is the choreography of it. Who decides all this? Do they have a dress rehearsal for 8 hours? Or who decides, like, right, okay, the coffin's coming out now. You're going to have one toff with big hat here who's going to open the door, and then one with a white feather. And like, it's just, there's so much involved.
It's like I said earlier, like this has been all like organised and arranged like years and years in advance. So like everyone knows exactly what they're doing. It's like they probably choreographed and, you know, practiced doing this, you know, whatever time. So, you know, it's like with the procession, everyone seemed to be walking at exactly the same pace. I was like, wow, that's impressive. And what I also thought was impressive, like, and I sort of felt, you know, again, like not being a monarchist, I sort of felt a bit weird about it, but like I am always very impressed by choral music in churches, because I just think it's got such a resonance within like that sort of building. Like whatever your thoughts are, I am quite moved by you know, people doing sort of choral songs and hymns. So I quite like that. But
that's a good point. Should we lose those things? You know,
I don't know.
when the Queen dies, it's a massive event. You know, I'd never say that there shouldn't be, you know, a big funeral. It's just £2 billion, 8 hours. You know, we want to see. We don't want to forget history, and it's so difficult. It's just when that bloody figure of £2 billion is thrown out, I can't justify it. I just really can't.
I don't, and you know, again, it just goes back to, you know, what we're used to as a country. Like this has always been, you know, expected, and it's always been in the works. And you know, as a country that's got a constitutional monarchy, you're always going to get this. And
well, that's exactly the point that George has just made in the chat here, actually, with a super chat. Monarchy gone, replaced with what? Exactly. I mean, my thoughts is it's not worth the hassle of replacing everything. You know, one of the arguments for Brexit is all the paperwork and stuff and everything that has to change. Obviously, you've got a million other things wrong with Brexit, but one of a good point is that there's so many things that's got to change. And with, you know, it just works as a monarchy. That's why I'd much rather just scale it right down than actually become a republic, because there's so much, you know, and no one would want President Lizz Truss or President Boris Johnson before that.
Yeah. Or maybe one day, you know, we will have a change of heart and decide that a monarchy isn't for us. But I think for the foreseeable, I do think that
We're not there yet.
we'll be stuck with a monarchy just because of the sense of feeling from the public at large. I mean, younger people have expressed in polls that they want to be a republic, but I think with like the older people get, the more sort of sentimental they get about the
Yeah.
monarchy, just because it's been there like since they were born. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, like
I'm going to throw this stat out there, no research or anything, but I'm going to say everyone under 30%, probably like 70% of those would have a republic,
yeah,
and everyone above the
okay.
opposite way around. Like I
Yeah,
say, no research on that. I'm just throwing
yeah,
that stat out, but
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
what I
I
think.
think like what really annoys me is just that, like we were saying, like just the vast amount of wealth that is hoarded by the royal family and other aristocratic families. It's just like if it's not in like tax havens, it's in properties like around the country, and it's like we could use that for other things in to help with poverty and like food banks and homelessness and public services and hospitals, etc. But again, like the elite and the aristocracy and the upper classes, like it all feeds into the same thing. It's like such a class battle that the media has such a stranglehold over the narrative in the UK that if you're at all sort of on the left or have alternative viewpoints, then you're going to be absolutely decimated and you know talked out of town. And that's really bad for democracy. Like that's not a democracy. That's almost a dictatorship where it's
Mm.
like you are told what to think, and if you think anything different, and you're talking the country down, and you're a traitor. So that's also something that needs to change as well.
Yeah, so basically, you're saying that that's all interlinked with the
Mm,
monarchy. The problems that we have
yeah,
with our media and our class system, and that is it. So
yeah.
bringing down the monarchy is just one small peg in the
Well,
whole
yeah, it's a
system.
big peg, but it's one part of a
Mm.
much bigger, you
I
know.
just, I just think it's also one thing I noticed about the funeral is Andrew was wearing like a suit and the other guy's wearing their army uniform. I don't know what the
Uniform.
proper.
Yeah, yeah.
But is that because of the problems that he had with Epstein and
I think it
could he
probably
not wear
was.
the?
Possibly. I wasn't paying too much attention
Yeah, it's
to
just
that.
something that I noticed, and also Harry done the same thing as well. Like, because
Yeah,
he's gone away. This is the thing with the royal family. I just do not keep up with it. I
no,
don't take any interest in it at all, apart from when the
I
Queen was
don't
here.
really either.
I don't
But
take any
yeah,
interest. But I just noticed that one thing. Actually, one thing I just got a super chat. Caffel OG. Ooh, live stream. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm going to be doing more live streams. There's going to be more coming. So keep updated with that. But yeah, I just noticed that, and that's if that's his punishment for basically allegedly being a paedophile. That
allegedly. We all
so
know.
basically, you're allowed to do this stuff, but on big events, you have to wear a suit and you can't wear the cool army outfit like the rest of us.
Mm,
I mean, is that
no.
really the punishment for Prince Andrew for what he's done?
I really hope like from now he isn't like put into like frontline positions because like my goodness, like please no. Like we all know what type of person he is and like the past that he's had. I'd
Mm.
rather not, have him paraded around. And like there was loads of criticism of like when they were doing the processions in like Edinburgh where he was getting heckled. I think some guy called him like a dirty old man or
Yeah,
something.
didn't he get arrested as well?
Yeah,
Someone got arrested
yeah.
for that.
But like don't be surprised if you get heckled in the street, if you're choosing to like
Yeah.
be on show to everybody, expect to get criticized for
Yeah,
that sort
yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah, I saw some guy. I don't know whether it was the one you were talking about in Edinburgh, but it was yeah, a guy was shouting out of him in the street, and loads of people were like pulling him off, and the
Oh,
police arrested
that
him.
was,
I'm like,
I think that was that. He was like a young lad
yeah,
who like got assaulted and then got
yeah.
arrested
But
for like
this is
a
my
breach of
other
the peace. It
yeah,
was.
this is my other gripe with the royal family in general, is that it just like, would you want to be in the royal family? I certainly wouldn't. I mean, I know they're like, you know, they don't have to worry about paying the bills and stuff like that, but just living a life where, you know, if you're Harry or whatever, you can't go to Ibiza with your mates and get pissed, and you know, because the newspapers would be all over
Mm,
you. You have to do what you want. Charles wanted to marry Camilla, but you know, they didn't want it. He had to marry Diana, and then he ended up cheating on her, and it's Andrew obviously is just, I think it just breeds people like Prince Andrew to be a sex pest, basically, because they
mm,
have to live their life in a certain way, and they
yeah,
can't blow out like normal people can. And it
yeah.
just breeds weird people. Surely
Well, it's
it's
sort
not
of like
normal.
no, it's sort of like a level of entitlement and privilege that nobody else in the country has.
That mixed
And
in
I
as
think,
well, yeah.
yeah, and I think that breeds a level of sort of arrogance
Mm,
that you think that you're better than everyone else.
yeah.
And again, like I, again, like as a sort of semi Republican, I, I, I do have some sympathies with like the likes of sort of say Prince Harry because like he's managed to sort of escape that life
Mm,
and that sort of gilded cage because the media just were like disgustingly racist to his wife, which
mm,
he's expressed many times. And but yeah, it's just it's yeah, it's weird. Like there's some in the royal family that just could do with like just shutting up and going away.
yeah.
Like just it's really not great.
So I mean, anyone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the way it works in countries like Denmark and stuff that still have a monarchy is people like Andrew, people like Harry, even William will just go off to normal public schools, they'll get normal jobs, they'll live a normal life, and the focus is just on who the current king is. And then when it's time for William to, you know, become king, he comes out of his normal job, and that's it. It's not as huge,
Mm,
this whole massive family that we have over here
yeah,
that we pay for. And
yeah.
I think it's got it will scale down. It will with
Mm.
public opinion. And I think
I hope it does.
after the sort of, I guess the initial period of the Queen passing away and everyone being a bit sad and stuff like that, I think
Mm.
conversations will start happening like you were hoping for. I think
Yeah.
more and more
Well,
conversations.
I hope so. I mean, I watched like there was a clip of like Kay Burley, who's like presenter of Sky News, and there's a clip of her speaking to like doing interviewing one of the Labour shadow ministers, and sort of she was criticizing him for um like there being like some sort of fringe event at the party conference discussing the idea of republicanism and the country without a monarchy. And you're like, surely that's very distasteful, isn't it? Like, why would you be having that sort of event? And she was like really like critical, like, why on earth would you want to have that sort of discussion? Like,
Yeah,
surely you're discouraging them against doing that. And God, this minister was just so he's like, that's nothing to do with me. Like, I
mm,
didn't, agree to doing that. And it's like, really? I was like, that's, it's important in a democracy to have these sorts of discussions. And you're
yeah,
like making the suggestion that it's not okay to talk about having an alternative to a
mm,
monarchy. It's like, it's not illegal. Like, we've had the ten days mourning period. We are allowed to talk about these things. And,
mm,
hopefully no one is going to be arrested for expressing their opinions about wanting to live in a different
yeah,
society. But apparently Kay Burley, took exception to that, and I was just like,
yeah.
really? Like,
I want to find out more about exactly what happened to these protesters that were supposedly arrested. I mean,
yeah. Well, some of them were
that's
arrested and then
scary, isn't it?
de-arrested, and then some of them were arrested on grounds of like breach of the peace
Yeah.
or
I don't know whether it's one of
public
those things where the
disorder.
police take them away and then they realise, oh, actually, I can't arrest you, and then they just get kicked on
Yeah,
or whatever. I don't know because these guys can't be arrested and put in.
But it's like sort of like, oh, you're causing offence. Like somebody like I think it was a barrister who was standing like near Westminster, was like, what will happen if I write "not my king" on this blank piece of paper to a policeman? Like, well, you might be arrested because someone might take offence. I was like, but you don't know that. You can't, like anticipate what I'm going to do before I've done it. Like that's like pre sort of Minority Report territory, and that is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't know if it's got anything to do with like the police crime and sentencing bill. It's just
that's what I was thinking, but it's mainly on. Well, I don't know. What I was also thinking is if there are any specific laws about protesting at a funeral. Like if you're having a funeral for a family member or something and someone's protested, is there any laws against it? I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah, it's scary stuff when people can't have a different opinion on the monarchy.
I know. Yeah, it's
really
fairly ridiculous.
Yeah. Right, I think we're on the hour mark now, so we might have to. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we've covered most bases. I think, haven't we?
I'm reasonably fully caught up from my my holiday away, but actually, one thing I'll finish on is that having a break from politics is such a great thing, and I implore anyone that's engaged in politics quite heavily to do the same, because it was so good to just recharge, just reset, just have a you don't necessarily have to do like 3 weeks like I did, but even if it's just a week or so, just to completely zone out from all politics and come back, and you have a new perspective on things. And I was thinking I'm going to slowly get back into the channel and find out, but then when I come back, everything's so insane and crazy. So
it is healthy to have a break for mental health purposes.
Yeah, I actually heard when you were on Captain Swiss's channel and you were doing a live stream, you almost breached on that topic, and I really wanted your thoughts there, because I think Swiss was saying that he sometimes does just take a week out where he just doesn't do anything on the YouTube channel or doesn't look at politics and stuff, and I think that's such a great thing to do. But
well, I mean, there's a lot of very depressing news of late, and there's things happening around the world that are just really terrible and are sort of outside of our control, and I think things like that can just send you into a bit of a dark place. So like, you can only do what you can within your means, but if you feel like at any point things are sort of getting too much and you kind of feel a bit powerless and depressed by the just generally horrific state of everything, just take a step back and like have time for yourself, because at the end of the day, like, you can only do what's good for you and the immediate people around you. So it's important to take a break and just sort of chill out and have a detox.
Definitely. Well, I agree with that. So we'll end on a positive note. I fully enjoyed my break from politics. You just took a couple of days out, didn't you? Just
yes, I did.
And recoup. So awesome. Well, thank you all of you that viewed. I think I got. Sorry if I didn't get to all your comments, but I got to.
Yeah, I did see some good ones.
This is a learning curve for me. Like I said at the start of the stream, usually my streams have been a bit of a shoddy affair. I'm new to this, so I'm going to get better and better. So the more I do, and I'm going to keep doing more. And Rowdog would definitely have you back if you have to come on again. And,
absolutely, yeah.
I want to try and do more of these live streams. So the more I do, the better I'll get at reading your comments and talking at the same time. Excellent. So we'll see you next time, guys. Take care.
Bye.